Beauty, they say, is skin deep, but then there's also something known as inner beauty. And today's show, we've got two lovely cars, two of the most gorgeous cars available in the Indian market, sterling examples of gorgeousness both on the outside and on the inside. But which of these two cars, the Volvo S90 or the Mercedes-Benz E220, radiates a stronger aura? Well, that's what we are here to find out. The E-Class is a good-looking car, but it's the long wheelbase that gives it an additional dollop of elegance and charm. The length accentuates its stately appeal, though that front end with the bold grille and the large emblem could have been a bit more subtle to complement the rest of this car. The E-Class nonetheless is a powerful visual statement, though it does not draw as much attention as the Volvo does. The S90 is pure gorgeousness. Its low-slung stance, wide body and long silhouette deceptively make the E-Class appear smaller than it. And it's not. The S90 also has some stunning design flourishes all around that highlight it, like the Thor's hammer headlamps, the stunning tail lamps, the stunning grille. It's all paint and polished to create an effect that's supposed to stop you in your tracks. And it does. Where the interiors are concerned, however, I find the E-Class to be more appealing than the S90. The styling details look smarter to me in the E-Class, though the S90 also has a stunning cabin. Where the E-Class clearly gains an advantage over the S90 is the rear cabin space. With its reclinable seats and enormous amounts of leg and knee room, the E-Class is a cut above the S90. Now the E-Class, because it's the long wheelbase version, offers a little more knee room than you get in the S90, because the length and the wheelbase are longer than in the S90. But well, there's the advantage. It also offers a little more headroom than in the S90 as well. The shoulder space, well, I think the S90 is a little bit more generous where that is concerned. However, the one signature highlight in this rear space of the E220 in the E-Class has got to be these reclinable seats. At the end of a long tiring day, if you just want to let yourself back, relax and enjoy your drive home, this is the car to do it in. But the question arises, well, would I weigh comfort over safety? Well, I'm not entirely sure. Most Indians would prioritize comfort over safety any day. And in that regard, then the E-Class, of course, well, would find more takers. However, being a responsible magazine, someone who advocates safety as well, we believe what the S90 has to offer with the safety package in the rear seat, that stands head and shoulders above this any day. Where exterior design is concerned, well, I had to hand it over to the S90. There is no doubting that is the remarkably more striking car than the E-Class. But where the interiors are concerned, well, again, it's a very closely matched fight between these two cars. But I'd give a point more to the E-Class, simply because this cabin feels just that little nicer than what you get in the S90. The finish, the textures, the layers within this, the elegance of this cabin, decidedly much better than what you get in the S90. A lot of the design and styling elements the E-Class borrows from its older sibling, the S-Class, and in that regard what you get is a stunning interior. Whether it's the layout, the dashboard, the center console, the seats, the steering, all of this, well, echoes the S-Class. And well, who wouldn't love that in a more affordable package? Both the E-Class and the S90, one of their defining features has to be that instrument console behind the steering wheel. Both liberally use LEDs, except the S90, well, it's got an LED display for the speedometer and the tachometer, but the E-Class, well, it's a more analog system with a few LED elements thrown in for good effect. But as a whole, that dashboard, the touchscreen elements and the entire instrument cluster, well, it looks a little more industrial, but a little nicer, a little stronger, a little more characterful, if that word does exist, in the E-Class compared to the S90. Where usability is concerned, however, I think the S90's touchscreen is definitely easier to use than what you get in the E-Class. The E220d's signature highlight is of course its 4-cylinder diesel engine. Now this turbocharged unit, well, it's just a little smaller than what you get in the S90. The E220D's engine displaces 1950cc compared to the 1964cc that you get in the S90. So that's a very small drop. But nonetheless, the power rating, the power output of the E220D is much higher. Actually, not much higher, just a little bit higher than what you get in the S90. 194 PS to 192 PS. So marginally more powerful than the S90. Where torque is concerned, both these cars make 400 Newton meters of max torque. The other difference, of course, is that the E-Class has a 9-speed automatic transmission. This is Mercedes-Benz's 9G-tronic automatic transmission compared to the S90, which has just an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, how does this matter? Well, Mercedes-Benz's efforts are towards getting out better fuel efficiency from this car, while at the same time balancing out performance as well. And in that regard, the E220D is just a little bit more fuel efficient than the S90. If you read through the specification list of both the E-Class and the S90, what you'd clearly realize is that the E-Class is the longer car, which is surprising because if you look at it visually, the S90, thanks to its design, its elegant, shapely design, definitely looks significantly longer than the E-Class. And bear in mind, the E-Class in India is offered as the long wheelbase version. It is about 100 mm longer than the S90 with the 100 mm longer wheelbase as well. And this means you get a little bit more room inside the E-Class as compared to the S90. And yet I must say, that S90 just looks so good. It seems like it sits lower to the ground. Roofline seems to be a little shorter than the E-Class. The hood, it seems just to be acres longer than the E-Class. And yet Mercedes-Benz very cleverly have managed to make this E-Class, the long wheelbase E-Class, just that little longer than the S90. Both the E-Class and the S90 ride on air suspension, slightly different configuration in the front and the rear, with a bit of a difference in the suspension settings. And both of them bring a different ride quality to the experience. Real estate is a fairly precious commodity to us Indians, you know it well. And these cars, well, they've got a fair amount of real estate right inside these cabins. They're luxurious to the hilt. Now I'm sitting inside the S90 and as you can see, there's a generous amount of knee room out here. But the one thing that it lacks is headroom. Because this has got a fairly low roof line, there's a little bit of headroom that you've got above. And well, there are other cars that are better in this regard. However, shoulder space is generous enough. Now, a few things that are fairly innovative in this cabin, in this space as well. One is, of course, the touchscreen controls for the climate control system. But apart from that, Volvo's need for safety, their incessant demands for safety in their cars. Well, here's something very interesting that they have to offer passengers, especially for children. Well, Volvo's provided a safety seat for kids who are older than 3 years but weigh between 15 to 32 kilos. And this is what well helps them to get the seat belts around them comfortably and well stay safe if an accident occurs. I think this is absolutely brilliant where safety is concerned. The S90 had one of the loveliest dashboards or rather interior designs that we've seen on a sedan in this segment, but the E-Class well changed a lot of that simply because it borrowed a lot of its cues from the S-Class. It echoed the S-Class in every aspect. But let me not detract over here. The design of the S90, well, after the E220, I think what you get in the S90 is still remarkably striking, but it's lost out a few marks to the E220. When Volvo introduced the S90 to Indian consumers, their intent was to offer, well, the car didn't change, but the intent was definitely to offer a lot of value through a lot of features. So this variant, the inscription variant, comes packed to the gill with features of every sort. One of the defining characteristics of this car, of course, is its sound system. The Bowers and Wilkins that you get in the S90 is the best you can probably get in this segment. It outdoes Mercedes-Benz's Burmeister sound system by yards. Another feature where the S90 scores over the E220 are the vented seats. Beautiful seats to look at. They look slim, elegant and well designed. You've got great lumbar support, as comfortable as the E220, but these are vented as well, which means for our summer conditions, these seats can be cooled down. That is a huge advantage. One feature that the S90 lacks compared to the E220 is the panoramic sunroof. If you look above, well, you just got that unit, whereas the E220 panoramic sunroof both for the front and the rear passengers. And though I don't hold much count by that feature, a lot of Indian consumers, for you guys out there, I think you will appreciate what the E220 has to offer more than what you get in the S90. The first thing that's apparent once you're inside this car is that the noise insulation, well, really isn't comparable to what you get inside the E-Class. The E220 just stands head and shoulders above the S90. I can hear the fan inside this car. I can hear the cooling system of this car working inside this car. The road noise, of course, is also a lot more audible inside this cabin compared to what you get in the E220, which means, of course, the tires that Volvo is using in India, they give out a little bit more noise. But all of these factors diminish the luxury quotient a little bit when you compare it to the E220. Having said that, let me also reiterate the fact that the S90 is without a doubt one of the most luxurious cars you can buy in this segment. One of the disadvantages, I'd say, is the transmission. The E220 has paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, and that makes the driving experience that much richer. And I have to say this, but the S90's 2-litre diesel engine, it feels a lot more punchier, even though it's less powerful than the E220. It definitely feels a lot more punchier, and that's because the way the ratios are spaced out with the transmission. But without the paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, there really is lesser control in this car compared to the E220. In that sense, there are fewer things that I can manage with this car compared to the E-Class. Even the drive modes, you've got just 3 drive modes in the S90. There's the Eco mode, the Comfort mode and the Dynamic mode. Whereas the E-Class, well, it's got 5 modes, 2 modes more than the S90. One of which is the individual mode, where you can choose various parameters and set them according to what the way you'd like to drive your car. So which one would I buy over the other? Is it the S90 or the E220?
So overall then, the E-Class clearly has the edge over the S90 in almost every respect except for street presence. The S90 is hands down the most stunning looking car with a fantastic powertrain complemented by solid dynamics and ride comfort. But the E-Class is just a league ahead in all those areas. The E-Class is also cheaper than the S90 if you compare it spec to spec, and by a substantial amount. So there is no doubt in my mind anymore that the E-Class has this comparison test wrapped up. What happens though when the E-Class faces the BMW 5 Series? That's a story for another day.